showing around. There we go. Okay. So, this is gonna be something a little bit different from what we normally do. I'm just gonna be playing you guys a lot of different videos. I'm gonna try to just play you the videos straight from their source. If I have their source, if I had to actually cut it out, then I'll cut it out. But honestly, I got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. So we're just gonna go through and just see what's happened to the world over the last few years. It's gonna be an interesting development. We're gonna start from a video that I showed you guys before, and then we're gonna open up the ground from there. So be ready for an experience, I guess. This was kind of a interesting thing for me to go through, and some of the videos I haven't actually been able to finish watching, so you guys will be going through some of the parts that I found interesting, and we'll try to go through and see which parts are relevant as we go through the videos, because some of these things are long. We're not going to watch all the super long ones. I tried to find as much shorter clips as I could, but that's pretty hard, and I don't have an efficient way of getting the clips cut and recorded and stuff. That has to use a specific editor and stuff, and that takes time. That's stuff that you guys don't care about, so let's just focus in on what we're gonna get into. So, I hope you guys have a enthralling experience. It's a strange world that we live in. Strange times, strange seasons. Enjoy.
I believe that art of the future is art without objects. It's just pure transmission of energy between the viewer and the artist. To me, mixed reality is this answer.
This was a unique opportunity to take the most legendary artists working now and capture them in such a way that they are translatable forever.
If you're a collector, you're trying to find works that break new ground. We here at Christie's believe that this is that. And it will be the first time that a mixed reality artwork is sold at auction.
There was always a question what you buy when you buy performance. You buy the video or you buy the edition of photographs. Here, you actually can have the artist's presence in your collection.
The first thing that we had to figure out was you had to feel that you were in the room with Marina, not a document of Marina. So HoloLens 2 was created by people who quite clearly have an interest in the audience forgetting that they are using technology. So the purest expression of artistic intent can happen.
I really want viewer to be with me in the space, in here and now. The life is dealing with what is going to stay after I'm not there anymore. And I can face myself. And that's a frightening experience. Really like you're facing your own ghost. There is always this great idea of immortality. Once you die, the work will never die because the work of art can continue. In performance, the piece is only in the memory of the audience and nowhere else. Here, I am kept for
Alright. Alrighty. Now let's get started on the show. So yeah, that's Marina Abramovich. Interesting character.
Waiting to meet Marina Abramovich is a nerve-wracking business. What to expect from a performance artist who's always opted for the unexpected? Whose last big show at New York's Museum of Modern Art had people crying just looking at her. In the end, I didn't cry. Our face-off took place at the Serpentine Gallery in London, where Marina Abramovich will spend most of the next 3 months.
It's not easy. I'm removing even these 2 chairs. There will be nothing, absolutely nothing.
And what will happen?
I don't know. And that's why I'm in such a panic. I just want to see what we can do with pure energy, what we can do from the personal contact.
Will you be talking?
Maybe it will be silence, but also I maybe talk later. Or maybe we all talk. Maybe we scream. Maybe we lie on the floor. You know, the thing is so important to see how we can actually create that a sense of now, here and now. And that's all.
Being in the present, the here and now, is where Abramovich wants her audiences. And she certainly got America excited when she performed there 4 years ago. 750,000 people queued and queued for a chance to sit opposite the silent, staring artist for as long or as short a time as they wanted.
New York is a pretty lonely place, lots of pain, and that's something like erupt from inside outside. And that was incredible reaction. I didn't expect.
How do you think the Brits will feel about it?
I worry about British. British are sarcastic. They make fun of everything. They are. I don't know. It's like plus you drink. You know, I'm very worried about the Fridays, the Saturdays. This work it's in a way you have to open yourself to have experience. In order to experience, you have to be vulnerable. And British don't like to easily to show their vulnerability.
Not many 67-year-olds would be dancing with Jay-Z, but celebrity America fates Abramovich. Lady Gaga is her protege. Here they are, practicing the so-called Abramovich method, explained as exercises to heighten awareness in the moment. Suspect? A bit Emperor's New Clothes? There are plenty who think that. In fact, often it was no clothes for an artist who's remained true to performance for more than 4 decades. For her, it's other parts of the art world that are dubious.
When the Francis Bacon triptych was sold for $146 million, it's incredible, talking about this, how you possibly ever could see this painting without seeing money in the front. The essence of painting is lost. I wanted to take everything away. I want to bring back to the pureness of art, which is about energy.
It could never be said that Abramovich hasn't suffered in her quest to share that energy. In a show in the 1970s, she placed 72 items on a table, from feathers and roses to a loaded gun. For 6 hours, audiences could use anything against her passive body.
I didn't feel any control. I was just object for them. And that was frightening because I understood that the public can kill you. But in this other case...
Did anyone pick up the gun?
Yeah, of course. They pick up the gun, they put the gun in my hand. They tried to see if I would really pull the trigger myself by pushing my hand, which I started doing it. And then somebody else came, completely freak out, take the gun, throw it out on the floor. They start fighting. It was a very strong experience that actually, when you completely become object, what can happen to you?
Does she get a thrill from pain, or is it something else?
We just don't want pain in our life. But we're afraid of these things. We're afraid of dying, afraid of pain. I go through this painful experience, and I push limits, physical, mental, of my body as far as I can. So if I can do this and liberate myself from the fear of the pain, they can do themselves in their own life.
Now came the test, a preview of how her interaction with audiences will begin when the show opens. Remember, Abramovich is one of only 2 artists on Time magazine's 100 most influential people, so she's doing something right. Bring me to that white wall.
Yeah, and then I will hold your hand. Really find this really great spot, and I try to give all the energy.
Cynical Brits may mock, but performance art is about experience, and perhaps none of us can judge this unless we see it for ourselves.
Beginning. So that's it, kids. Let's go for it.
Let's continue down the line.
So, as you see, I'm pretty good health in front of you, so if I cut my stomach, it was fine. It was the purpose of performance in those days, and to get rid of fear of cutting, of pain. The Valley expert said once about her work, she's in Vienna, she said, if I really cause pain to myself in order to get rid of pain, the fear of pain, that's okay.
Oh,
this is the whole idea, how we can control pain, how we can actually get somewhere else. That our mind actually has strength enough to overcome that pain. Old cultures knew so many techniques about that. You know, all the Asian or Africans, the
Can't watch
Aborigines, the
this rest of
Tibetans,
this.
knew that
Few people
using the
will.
body to the point almost to clinical dying situations in the very violent rituals in order to have a situation they can actually jump to another state of mind, to transcend that, the physical body, and to alter a state of consciousness. So the performance in our Western society can be one of the tools to achieve that. And in the beginning, I need to do all these things to come to the point, like in Artist is Present performance, where it was on the last months, not even the table between me and spectator. It was just 2 chairs and gaze. But because of learning all that before, I could do that, not before I made this road, like this stomach piece. Okay, so eyes. Let's go to eyes. Eyes, we have 2 eyes. I'm going to show you just, again, 38. This is my own eye. The idea was here, eye as a landscape. How we can have the eye as a lake, or as a, ocean, or with anything else. Sound? What's happening? Wow. This collapse, very interesting. Can we put 37 maybe eye? That's totally different. This is a Buñuel eye, if this works. So instead of mine, I don't know. Salvador Dali and Louis Buñuel. It was just That Cow Eye. It's a film. So can we try 38 again? My eye? I hope my eye can work too. Let's see. This was inspired by Buñuel. That's why I'm to show you.
Oh,
No, something's wrong with eye. Okay, this is my eye.
wild.
All right, so let's go. Oh no.
Oh,
Wow.
I'm sorry, guys.
Okay,
Like, you
okay.
guys have to
We
understand.
forget this one.
I gotta go
So
through
can
this
we
with
go to
you.
the body limits? Can we go to the
I
42?
don't get to control what this chick
42?
produces. I'm trying to show you guys
42,
what in
42,
reality is
yes.
being produced and
So,
what people
let's stop
follow.
before I explain. Stop. So here it's I work with
This
women
was the
for 12
woman
years,
JC listens to,
and,
that Lady
we
Gaga
really
is
work on this
inspired
idea of
by,
relationship,
that Katy
men,
Perry's
female
inspired by,
energy,
that Hillary
which
Clinton hangs
changes
out
all.
with,
So this piece was by Made in Castle.
who Bill
The idea
Gates
was,
hangs
that
out
we
with.
that we move 2 columns without using hands, just our own body, and expanding the space. We made lots of work which was really like a minimal architectural. Body was always naked because it was 70s. The 70s, all artists was all naked, or was dressed in the dirty white or dirty black. This was it. This was the really kind of costume. But naked was the most minimal, pure, and simple. And in that time, there was Documenta, a very big exhibition in Europe, was happened every 5-6 years. And we was invited to come to this Documenta. So we arrived in this Documenta, find out that actually our names was nowhere to be found. And we got so incredibly angry. And we was young and crazy. And then we said, okay, we do it anyway. So we went to the supermarket and convinced the director of the supermarket to give us the garage, underground garage, where they keep the cars, to remove the cars, temporary, and we made peace in this garage situation. And what is incredible there happened, really something so different than every other time. Till that time, the public of performance was like 20 people, 30, 40 is like a huge number. And in the garage, because of Documenta, arrived something like more than 1,500 people. Some from the art scene and some just coming to looking for the cars we could not find. So there was this insane situation of so many people. And the idea was very simple, very much to do architecture. We had the 2 columns, exactly double weight of our bodies, which we have to move and expand them in the space. And when Ulay column didn't move, he left. I didn't even notice that my column didn't move. I just go on and on because I actually, first time in my life, understood what it means to use the energy of the public, of having this enormous number of people. And then I just kind of went to the over my limits. Okay, 32. Yeah, please. I hope it works. Again, one of the great bad tapes. Sound, please. Sound, it's really old. Put maximum sound.
What? I haven't gotten this far. I only watched up to this point. What? Please stand naked and run yourself into a wall. It's art. It's art, folks.
Somebody came with a beer bottle. They push him away. And so on. Okay. So next thing, 45. So 45. So this is the piece. I think I made the two pieces in my life that I really actually risked my life in a serious way.
I'm sorry, I
because in
can't
those
watch
ways,
human
I was not
suffering.
in control. Because even I'm in control, I know how far I can go.
Even
But
if it's
the
wanted,
one case was, if anybody saw my
it's
show,
self-inflicted.
is the piece where I have 76 objects on the
painful.
table, and everybody can do anything they want with me, including was a pistol with a bullet. If you want to kill me, you can. That was the one piece which I didn't have control, audience had, and this was the second one, 45, rest energy. Okay. The sound is the two little microphones on our hearts. It's called rest energy with Ulay.
West. God. This borderline's on fetishism. Oh, God. I can't. Don't let my reaction modify your reactions. If you guys are entertained by this, then be entertained.
So
It's just,
let's go to performing body. So now I like to show
I can't.
you pieces from the again Pina Bausch because
That's
Pina
not
Bausch,
art to
she
me.
died recently, and Wim Wenders just made the film.
Oh.
But I think we should see it. She was really somebody closest to performance, but coming from the dance background. Because in her performance, everything was real. She would put her dancers in the mud. She would put them in the snow. The emotions came out, they're real. And I show you two examples. One is 47 and one is 48. 47, please. Yeah. Something is wrong. Okay, can we stop? Listen, the technical crew. In my bag upstairs, I have a second tape, exactly the same, called Performing Body. Can you put that tape in? Because this one is collapsing. And I can entertain my audience with the other stories. Because it's exactly called Performing Body. I have the PAL version and I have NTSC. I always have plan B and C with every situation. So anyway, we are quite close to the
Okay,
to
I'm
the
an
ending of
hour
the story.
in.
But I wanted to show you the Pina Bausch, and then I wanted to show you also the last part, which I invent myself, and I call body drama. And body drama is kind of a really important issue, especially in Western culture.
There we go.
What is the body drama? Body drama is, let's say, you read the wonderful book and you want to meet the writer, and the writer changing life. I mean, nobody ever can be changed life with reading the book. If the only life can be changed is your own experience, this I tell you for sure. But let's say this writer really elevates your spirit and you would like to meet him. So you go to the cafe where he normally sits, and he's drunk, he's unshaved, he smells bad, he's horrible state, he just speaks nonsense. So you're completely shocked how that incredible book was written by this idiot. So that's the body drama. That's the body drama, and the body drama is also like if you have this huge I believe concerts, that art of the future. You have this, and I don't know, 300,000 people at the stadium. And can you imagine the singers really do his best? But all this energy, after the concert is finished, stays with you, in you. And then we in Western society don't have the key how to deal with this energy. This is the energy who destroys us. This is the energy you can't handle it. This is why you have to take heroin or whatever kind of drinks or overdose on anything. And this is why it's a tragic ending of all this, you know, the pop stars and musicians, because there is something there that you never found the real key, how you can transcend that energy and make the use for yourself. Like, you know, Tibetans, like Eastern European, or Eastern, you know, the countries know the technique. They don't. So the body drama is that when the artists have this voice, the still is everything there, but the body is falling apart. So I have two examples to show you this body drama. I only hope they found the tape. One will be the last concert of Elvis Presley, which is totally for me interesting, because that's, you see this voice and body is falling apart. And the second is Maria Callas, which I really love. Maria Callas, you know, I just read all her biographies. I love the drama of Maria Callas. She's the one who died from broken heart. It's such a dramatic thing to die from. But what about her, I will show you one footage I have. It's very rare, actually, these footages, because mostly there's not much recordings. She never liked to be recorded. Is in last concert in Paris. And I'm not showing you Maria Callas because of singing, just the way how she actually received applause. And this is like, you know, she is this incredible diva on the stage, charismatic and full of life and controlling everything. She said about a good performance one day, she said, you know, to have a good performance, you have to be able that one part of the brain is completely in control, but other part of the brain have to be loose and free. And if you really actually can create a balance between these two parts of the brain, then, you know, performance is there, then magic happens, then nobody leaves, everybody's there. And she could succeed to do that. But then applause come, and then this magic stops, and she turned into this little insecure girl who just kind of can't deal with the world. And that's her body drama. And then I have my body drama, which was, you know, I worked with this man for 12 years, and it was also a big love of my life. And then we separated on the walk in the Chinese Wall. We wanted to actually walk the Chinese Wall and marry the Chinese Wall, but it took 8 years for the Chinese to give us permission. China was not open at that time. There was 12 different provinces that was completely forbidden for foreigners and so on. So after these 8 years, we finally Chinese say yes. We was on the end of our relationship. But as I never give everything up, we say okay, then we go and we say goodbye. And that was my body drama, saying goodbye to that relationship. So, and then after that, you know, I actually decided to create a theater piece, because, you know, I never believed in psychoanalysis. And I always believed that artists have to work with his own pain. And then when I was in this incredible situation that everything was collapsing in my life, I was thinking, should I turn to something I hate the most? And this was a theater, of course. Theater was like absolutely something, you know, if you're a performance artist, you have to hate theater. There's no other way. Why you hate theater? Because it's fake, I mean. But I say, not only that I want theater, but I want this decadent theater. I want all red polish, I want Milan Scala, I want something, you know, really over the top, where I can stage my own life and play myself, and in that way have distance from my life. So I did it. I staged my own theater piece, which I invite Ulay and his new wife, which was Chinese at that moment, already pregnant, in the audience. So it was a drama of life and theater at the same time. So it was theater, but it was reality too, good mix, which I'm saying goodbye to him. So now this is all new things, so let's see if it works. So let me see, body drama. Can we just see the Pina Bausch 47? It works. This is new tape, let's hope. Can we stop? Okay. Is it a new tape, this one? New DVD? That must be your computer. Okay. Can we play 49, please? To see, maybe we have luck, 49. Okay. We're almost on the end. We have to make it end. I can't stand failure. What happened? 49. 49. Yes. Play. No, there's some strange stuff. No. Stop. Okay, we forget Pina Bausch. Let's see Elvis Presley. Maybe it's better. Elvis Presley is 53. Body drama. Let's see body drama. So it doesn't work as already body drama, so it's somehow logical. So it's from German television.
I'm okay with this. This part's peaceful. Maybe that's how that works.
I'm really sorry, this become really body drama. Can we go to 55 to see colors? And if you have any luck, because we only have 2 more things before the 55. Yeah. Maybe. This is second tape. I really don't know what happened. Apologies. So the next is my walk on Chinese wall, just the meeting with Ulai, which is 56, where to say goodbye. After we each walked 2,500 kilometers, basically half of the China.
And here we meet. We embrace. It's strange. Two aliens meeting. Estranged from each other. And strangers to each other.
I can't hardly speak. He speaks continuously about himself, his work, his experience. In the first moment of our meeting, in one split of second, he held my finger under his hand. At that very moment, I felt togetherness again. The intensity of the feeling we once had for each other returned. Somehow, this finger contact brought back the feelings for a moment, a very short one, intense feeling of peace and beauty. I'm so glad that we didn't give up this walk. We need a certain form of ending. After this huge distance of walking towards each other, we met unhappily. It is very human, in a way. It is more dramatic, more like a film ending, than actually having this romantic story of two lovers. Because, in the end, you are really alone, whatever you do.
Damn.
And now, the theater, 57.
Edgy as hell.
The piece is called The Biography, and every 6 or 7 years, I ask different theater directors to edit my life. And the instruction and condition of work is like this. I give them all my material, all my writings, all my diaries, all the video, everything I've done, and they can re-edit it and kind of put on the stage the way they want. If they like one part of my life, they put that one. If they don't like other one, they take it out. And I don't have anything to say about it. It's about giving total control and way. And I just play the role they tell me to play. Right now, the new version of this biography is going to be performed 9th of July in Manchester, and is hopefully next year coming to America. And it's called Life and Death of Marina Abramović. It's directed by Bob Wilson with Willem Dafoe and Anthony Johnson, who wrote the music. And actually, there are
The
12
live
names on the stage,
experience.
and they start with funeral, and then go into life and end with funeral. It's quite interesting. I'm very interested in funerals these days. But anyway, so this is one of the first biographies worked, directed with Charles Atlas. We're talking in '89, and it's just the first one that I actually only show you the part when I'm saying goodbye to Ulay, which is stand in the
Hold on, you
audience.
timestamp that.
Total Bobby Brown. 57, and of course with Carlos music, so
Okay.
everything comes together.
118.
And only theater I play is theater of my life, not any other theater. First time wear heels, first time I have makeup, first time everything in those days. Jealousy, intensity. Wow. Bye-bye togetherness. Bye-bye Tibetans. Bye-bye constructions. Bye-bye tears. Bye-bye Ula. Light, thank you. And unnecessary. And then I asked to remove the table. And the moment I removed the table for the May, this month's May, then I really understood that what actually performance is about. Performance is an extremely powerful tool to use. I always believe in hierarchy of art, and on the pyramid of his hierarchy is definitely music, because music is the most immaterial form of art. It's the highest form of art. This is no question. Music. is you don't need anything for the music. Go straight in your body, straight to your heart, straight to your bones, vibrating inside yourself. And performance is a second one, but it's have this kind of immaterial power. It's so that when I feel that I actually don't need anything, just to be there, it's enough. That was a big change in my life. Next.
Hi. My question is also about the artist is present, but about the historical elements that were included. I was wondering how the sort of scale of that show and the amount of work that went into it, or any aspect of it, how has that changed your thinking about the documentation of performance and the I guess the legacy of performance going forward?
Wow, it's a long, complicated question with so many elements. First of all, the most difficult is to actually make retrospective of performance in the museum. Because as we know, performance was nobody territory. So my huge obsession was how I can make performance mainstream art. Like same like video or photography. Because video photography was not mainstream art, it became mainstream art. But performance never. And so I had this chance and I didn't want to really lose it. I remember the friends of mine said, but what you want? You have a respective museum, you can have a dinner, go home, and everything is fine, just wait to die. I wanted to do something extra. I wanted to give this extra energy. This is why I have to create Artist is Present. But it was not enough. I want also to find a way how I can have the re-performer to give them this possibility to re-perform the historical pieces and to create a loop that they are as long there as the opening hours of the museum, and to see if this structure can work. It was so hard to deal this with American Museum, full of restrictions, no nudity, no this, no that. I mean, it was just a mess. Yeah, I mean, these museums have to change. This is, I hope that will be soon. I want to open my own institutions with not such a rules, because then you can do really free things. And so it was very hard to deal with rules. But I want to say it was for me also how you deal documentation. That's a big issue, because in the 70s, first of all, we never give instructions to the photographer or the video how to do documentation. My first experience was very hard. It was with a piece called Art Must Be Beautiful. I performed this piece in Denmark, and till that time I never had any camera. I was, I never come from ex-Yugoslavia. We didn't have nothing. So that time I was the one video artist. He said, "I'm going to make video of you," and I was like, "Wow, this is like somebody give you Bugatti or something." So it was fantastic. So I didn't know what kind of instruction to give to him. So he filmed this performance live, and then immediately behind the stage, I want to see the video in the small room. I look the video. I want to kill the man. Straight on the spot. It was horrible. He was just, I was doing something with my hair. He was filming my feet. He was filming the public, left, right, doing, zooming in and out. Camera was never stable. It was just a mess. And absolutely didn't give any idea what the piece was about. I told him to delete this on the spot, and he did it. And then I say, okay, now I'm going to have the camera static. Camera is going to be my audience. I'm sitting on the chair. I'm looking to the camera. I do all the piece again, straight, right away. And you go out and smoke the cigarette, and don't come back till it's finished. And he did, he really did. And this is how I understood how should be done the documentation and how much control you have to have. Because, in this Artist is Present is a very unique collaboration with photographer, which I have to say. Because apart of that, we film everything lifetime. The whole video is absolutely, we have 736 hours of video. But photographer really actually took that decision to be with me as much time as the performance. So that means that he was there 7 hours a day, every single day, except Friday, 10 hours a day, that he could not go to pee or go to the toilet, as well as me too, or to eat a sandwich, because he had to always film, to photograph every single person there. And this is the first time collaboration of an artist and photographer on one-to-one base, because photographer can't take 3 big photographs because he liked, then he go away, then he take on the left, he sees something more interesting on the right. But this is not real documentation. But the real documentation is to be real time. And this very few times happened in the 70s. So it's anyway, big story, we can talk later on. Anyway, next. You see, that's why I say 3 questions, because they're so long answers.
In reference to your manifesto, if the greatest suffering produces the greatest work, what is your greatest work today?
What?
Definitely Artist is Present. It looks so simple. I'm just sitting on the chair. It was incredibly hard piece. That took me almost a year. I'm still recovering from this piece, mentally, physically, in many different ways. It was so hard to if you do performance 1 hour and do any of these pieces I've been doing, like running on the wall, boy and arrow, every pieces are short. You have months and months to recover. But 3 months is
Sorry,
life
I'm
itself.
affecting the
3
medium.
months is a
This
life.
is
It's not just
technically bad
performance.
reporting.
You're living into performance time. And then
being
there
Alex.
is so many aspects of that you have to deal with. And
Goblins!
Physical body problems.
Goblins
the
everywhere!
The feet, the pains of your back. One huge problem, huge
Put
mistake I
stuff
did
in the
this
water
piece,
to make
that
frogs.
just for aesthetical reason, I didn't make arms on the chair. This was such a problem, because if I had arms on this chair, my life would be so much more easier. But because I didn't, I had them on my knees. That means that your hours and hours of sitting, your just body sinking in, and your ribs are actually pressing the organs. wow, this was hard to deal. And then, and then how to deal with the pain, and how actually in concentration pain disappear completely, and how came back with it, and then go back
Pain is art,
in and
everybody.
out of this. And then how to focus your mind, that you're always really there for this other person, 100%. And then this piece work in time. You need that amount of time. These 3 months to really happen. The last month was the highest experience I ever had in my entire life, but also together with the suffering. But it was the clarity and the state of consciousness which was really elevated that I never experienced in any other work or in my life. And that affect the public, because you create kind of zone, and the public coming and sit in front of you, the person, it's really can feel that. And also, public is always been seen as a group, never as individual. But in this piece is one-to-one experience. Each person is unique and special, and that makes this also work so different. But it was not easy. It was really hard. This is 3 questions, so we can go home. Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, being a bad DJ. Oh, it's upstairs. Okay, let's not say we did. Nah, don't need that. Let's go with spirit cooking. Spread that energy around, people. Why is there an idol in the corner? Yes. Okay. What? No! 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 Oh! No, 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 no. No! 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 Ah! What? No! 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 Oh no! Oh no! Oh no, Lord, I'm sorry. Oh. Oh, you gotta make this stop. Make this stop. No, Joe.
He just said, we let him stay.
I discover you like this? You know.
Togliamo tutto fuori e alla fine io prego di
Focus rolling more does too. Everyone wants to go inside your head.
Togli un pezzo.
Ah, sì, 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 sì.
Se no non ci veniva,
Marina, da baš mi ja sam na ovu stranu.
Nemoj, ja to volim da vidim kako je dozira.
Sam here?
E posso di luce di da ugasi? No, but this is the smell is strong. It's really the
Oh
sound
no.
of the sharp knife cutting
Oh no.
the finger of your left hand is
That was Egyptian symbols.
there are four objects, four statements.
Oh,
So
that's not
looking
good.
at the image and it's really
This
like
is art,
alchemy.
people.
Yeah. But you think it's cooking. And then, you know, that's it, Sean. Can I join now? Yes, please.
Can I do the last one?
Yeah.
I arrive.
It's my favorite. This is going to be my favorite position. Bye. Oh, wait. It's another one. But no, can you please use my watch? Please.
She knows what she's doing. Okay. Nothing was wrong. Yeah, supposed to guess that.
Why so heavy-handed trying to tie Hillary Clinton to Lucifer?
Well, first of all, recognize that this is a very famous book, Rules for Radicals. And on the dedication page, you acknowledge Lucifer in an admirable way.
Right.
Saying that he's the original radical who gained his own kingdom.
Right.
And then if you read the book, I don't know if you've ever read it.
Right. What I did was I read the studies of the book just to figure out where you were going with this. But please continue.
But please read the book because it's very interesting how it uses controlled anarchy in order to change us from a democratic republic to a socialist society.
Right.
And I don't think that those things are consistent with the principles and the basis of this nation.
Oh, whoa. Let it play.
And I've gotten to see some of the most vicious commercials I've ever seen of Michelle Obama talking about you, Hillary. So you talk about friend, go back and take a look at those commercials. A race where you lost, fair and square, unlike the Bernie Sanders race where you won, but not fair and square, in my opinion. And all you have to do is take a look at WikiLeaks and just see what they said about Bernie Sanders
2016.
and see what Deborah Wasserman Schultz
Bernie Sanders
had in mind. Because Bernie Sanders, between superdelegates and Deborah Wasserman Schultz, he never had a chance. And I was so surprised to see him sign on with the devil.
Because, you know, it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Oh, by the way, and did you see the Nielsen ratings came out? So my final speech against Hillary's final speech, not even a contest, won by 4 or 5 million people. Now, the press doesn't report that. As an example, when Bernie Sanders people all walked out, you had this mass exit, nobody showed it. And then when they showed Bernie very angry, they're talking about Bernie, because he made a bad deal. He should have not made a deal. He would have gone down and done something really important. Once he made that deal, and believe me, he has buyer's remorse. You know, this guy has buyer's remorse. He looked at that, and he was so angry when they were talking about him, and his people are angry at him, and they should be. If he would have just not done anything, just go home, go to sleep, relax, he would have been a hero. But he made a deal with the devil. She's the devil. He made a deal with the devil.
It's true. Oh,
We've
I love
sneaked
the
in one more
pre-elections.
question, and it comes from Carl Becker.
Good evening. My question to both of you is, regardless of the current rhetoric, would either of you name one positive thing that you respect in one another?
Mr. Trump, would you like to go first? Well, I certainly will, because I think that's a very fair and important question. Look, I respect his children. His children are incredibly able and devoted, and I think that says a lot about Donald. I don't agree with nearly anything else he says or does, but I do respect that, and I think that is something that as a mother and a grandmother is very important to me. So I believe that this election has become in part so conflict oriented, so intense, because there's a lot at stake. This is not an ordinary time, and this is not an ordinary election. We are going to be choosing a president who will set policy for not just 4 or 8 years, but because of some of the important decisions we have to make here at home and around the world, from the Supreme Court to energy and so much else. And so there is a lot at stake. It's one of the most consequential elections that we've had. And that's why I've tried to put forth specific policies and plans, trying to get it off of the personal and
We've
put
had?
it on to what it is I want to
She
do
knows the
as
outcome,
president.
people.
And
Hold
that's
on.
why personal and tried to put forth specific policies and plans,
Listen to this.
trying to get it off of the personal and put it on to what it is I want to do as president. And that's why I hope people will check on that.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Much else.
Oh, wait for it.
And so there is a lot at stake. It's one of the most consequential elections that we've had.
That we've had.
There is a lot at stake. It's one of the most consequential elections that we've had.
Because she knows the outcome. She was supposed
and
to
that's
win.
why I've tried to put forth specific policies and plans, trying to get it off of the personal and put it on to what it is I
They
want to
always
do as
expose
president.
themselves
And that's why I
somehow,
hope
and it's always
people
with
will,
some sort of
check
fluke
on
of
that for
language.
themselves so that they can
Reveals
see
why they are angry
that
later.
yes, I've spent 30 years, actually maybe a little more, working to help kids and families, and I want to take all that experience to the White House and do that every single day.
Mr. Trump.
Well, I consider her statement about my children to be a very nice compliment. I don't know if it was meant to be a compliment, but it is a great. I'm very proud of my children, and they've done a wonderful job, and they've been wonderful, wonderful kids. So I consider that a compliment. I will say this about Hillary: she doesn't quit, she doesn't give up. I respect that. I tell it like it is. She's a fighter. I disagree with much of what she's fighting for. I do disagree with her judgment in many cases, but she...
Nope, the difference in what they're talking about. Clinton says she'll never do the things that Donald might do. And remember, one of the things we were glancing at earlier, one of the things they were worried about with Trump is that he's a wild card. Nobody can really own him. And ultimately, all of his business interests are shored up in the American economy, not the world economy, which means he's not as beholden to the UN, EU as all the others. Look where the Clintons have their money saved. If they have the economy taken America, so long as they have established a connection with the EU, they'll be safe. So note that. Note the difference. I disagree with much of what she's fighting for.
She's a fighter. I disagree with much of what she's fighting for. I do disagree with her judgment in many cases, but she does fight hard, and she doesn't quit, and she doesn't give up, and I consider that to be a very good trait.
I'm just hitting you guys on a random newsfeed. I'm not choosing
This tape is generating intense interest. In just 48 hours, it's become the single
Oh shoot, they have the Al
most talked about
Sharp.
story
Okay,
of the
yeah,
entire
we're playing that
2016
one. That one I'm
election
purposely gonna
on
play.
Facebook, with millions and millions of people discussing it on the social network. As we said a moment ago, we do want to bring in questions from voters around the country via social media, and our first stays on this topic. Jeff from Ohio asks on Facebook, Trump says the campaign has changed him. When did that happen? So, Mr. Trump, let me add to that. When you walked off that bus at age 59, were you a different man, or did that behavior continue until just recently? And you have 2 minutes for
this.
this.
I told you, that was locker room talk. I'm not proud of it. I am a person who has great respect for people, for my family, for the people of this country, and certainly I'm not proud of it. But that was something that happened. If you look at Bill Clinton, far worse, minor words, and his was action. His was what he's done to women. There's never been anybody in the history of politics in this nation that's been so abusive to women. So you can say any way you want to say it, but Bill Clinton was abusive to women. Hillary Clinton attacked those same women and attacked them viciously. 4 of them here tonight. One of the women, who is a wonderful woman, at 12 years old, was raped at 12. Her client, she represented, got him off, and she's seen laughing on 2 separate occasions, laughing at the girl who was raped. Kathy Shelton, that young woman, is here with us tonight. So don't tell me about words. I apologize for those words. But it is things that people say. But what President Clinton did, he was impeached. He lost his license to practice law. He had to pay an $850,000 fine to one of the women, Paula Jones, who's also here tonight. And I will tell you that when Hillary brings up a point like that, and she talks about words that I said 11 years ago, I think it's disgraceful, and I think she should be ashamed of herself, if you want to know the truth.
Can we please hold the applause? Secretary Clinton, you have 2 minutes.
Well, first, let me start by saying that so much of what he's just said is not
Deflection.
right, but he gets to run his campaign any
Dismissal.
way he chooses. He gets to decide what he wants to talk about. Instead of answering people's
Persuasion.
questions, talking about our agenda, laying out the plans that we have
Typical
that
lawyer.
we think can make
Holy crap.
a better
So
life and a
fucking
better
typical.
country,
Sad.
that's his choice. When I hear something like that, I am reminded of what my friend Michelle Obama advised us all. When they go low, you go high. And look, if this were just about one video, maybe what he's saying tonight would be understandable. But everyone can draw their own conclusions at this point about whether or not the man in the video or the man on the stage respects women. But he never apologizes for anything to anyone.
He just apologized!
He never apologized to Mr. and Mrs. Khan, the Gold Star family, whose
Did
son,
they
Captain
apologize to
Khan,
him?
died in the line of duty in Iraq, and Donald
Fired
insulted
back
and
after
attacked
they
them for
fired at
weeks
him.
over their religion. He never apologized to
From
the
what I
distinguished
understand,
federal judge
That's not how that went.
who was born in Indiana. But Donald said he couldn't be
We'll have to
trusted
just
to be
look
a
into
judge
that later.
because
Just watch
his
that
parents
footage.
were, quote, Mexican. He never apologized to the reporter that he mimicked and mocked on national television and our children were watching. And he never apologized for the racist lie that
He was mean to
President
people,
Obama was
people.
not
It's
born
worse than rape.
in the United States of America. He owes the president an apology.
He insulted
He
people's
owes
feelings.
our country
That's worse
an
than
apology. And he needs to take responsibility for his actions.
He's
and his
irresponsible for
words.
his language, but Bill's
Yeah, I don't know if you
responsible
heard, but we just
for
had
his
a
use of
big
women
development of
under
the unfolding
his
spot.
authority. Just remember that, people.
He's unfit, and he proves it every time
You
he
are
talks.
the one that's unfit. You know, WikiLeaks just actually came out. John Podesta said some horrible things about you, and boy, was he right. He said some beauties. And you know, Bernie Sanders, he said you have bad judgment. You do. And if you think that going into Mosul, after we let the world know we're going in, and all of the people that we really wanted, the leaders, they're all gone. If you think that was good, then you do. Now, John Podesta said you have terrible instincts. Bernie Sanders said you have bad judgment. I agree with both.
Well, you should ask Bernie Sanders who he's supporting for president, and he has said,
Which is
as
a
he
big
has
mistake.
campaigned for me around the country, you are the most dangerous person to run for president in the modern history of America.
Because he might
I
actually
think
take you
he's
people
right.
down. I'm just saying.
Hillary Clinton goes into tonight's debate hauling her own baggage. Hacked emails now reveal what Clinton was telling Wall Street bankers in big money speeches behind closed doors, transcripts she refused to make public. Joining me now, only on Fox News Sunday, Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta. John, I promise we will get to the Trump tape in a moment, but first we need to talk about these hacked emails from your
Pensive.
private account. To go back in time, let's hear what Hillary Clinton was telling voters in New Hampshire last February.
Anybody who knows me, who thinks that they can influence me, name anything they've influenced me on. Just name one thing. I'm out here every day saying I'm going to shut them down, I'm going after them, I'm going to jail them if they should be jailed, I'm going to break them up.
But here's what Clinton told bankers about regulation at one of those Goldman Sachs speeches. How do you get to the golden key? How do we figure out what works? And the people that know the industry better than anybody are the people who work in the industry. So, John, what's her real view? Crack down on big money or kiss up to them?
Well, Chris, I think we should take a step back and say how we got here, which is that the Russians, as the U.S. senior members of the U.S. government confirmed, have been hacking into Democratic accounts, and now they've hacked into my account. They put out documents that are purported to be from my account. But I think if you look at what she said in this campaign, to get to your question, I would just add, this should be a concern to everyone that the Russians are trying to influence our election. But I'll answer your question directly, which is that she said all throughout this campaign she will crack down on Wall Street. She said it to, there's nothing that she hasn't said in private that she doesn't say in public. She's put forward the most aggressive Wall Street plan of any candidate, really. She stands behind Dodd-Frank. Donald Trump wants to rip it away. She won't let Wall Street wreck
John, what are we to make of the fact that she says in private that the people who know the industry best in terms of regulation are the people who work on Wall Street?
That's hardly a revelation. I mean, I think people on Wall Street know how to game the system. What she wants to do is crack down on the system, make sure that there's no institution that's too big to fail, and there's no person that's too big to jail. So I think she's put forward very comprehensive ideas about that, how to reduce the size of big banks, and that's why Bernie Sanders yesterday, after looking at those transcripts, said that he stands behind her, what they worked together to produce in the Democratic platform, and that's what she'll do as President of the United States. And there's nothing big and exceptional in there.
Well, I mean, the question, it's sort of like what Donald Trump says. He's the one to handle the tax system because he knows how to game it. Let me ask you about another one. During the campaign, Clinton has taken a tough line on both trade and on immigration. But here's what she said in a big money speech to a Brazilian bank. My dream is a hemispheric common market with open trade and open borders. Just think of what doubling the trade between the United States and Latin America would mean for everybody in this room. John, open trade, open borders?
Look, I mean, you could pluck a few words if that's what she did say out of context, but I think she's put forward and has been for and is constantly
so everybody, we should read the emails to get the context.
Comprehensive immigration reform that modernized our border security. When she was Secretary of State, she talked about creating a hemispheric effort to bring clean energy across the continent from the tip of South America to Canada, to invest in clean and renewable energy, to invest in the transmission that would clean up our energy system. And, I think that she's constantly talked about that. She had an initiative when she was Secretary of State to do that. So you got to look at the context of some of these remarks.
But John,
I think when you look at what she said about immigration, she's for comprehensive immigration reform that takes people out of the shadows, emphasizes family unity, but also modernizes our border security.
But John,
so
this
you
gets
can take
to the
a word
heart.
here and a word
this
there.
Gets to the heart of people's concerns about Hillary Clinton. I want to take an excerpt from another one of her speeches. As she said, you need both a public and a private position. The question is, when you see the speeches and then you see what she's saying on the campaign, and sometimes they're diametrically opposed, what's her real position?
They're not diametrically opposed, Chris. I think she talked about income inequality to Wall Street. She said we need to close the carried interest loophole. She said to them that even as early as 2008 that what they were doing with credit default swaps in the housing market was going to wreck the economy, which it did. She's been tough with them when she was a senator from New York. That's what she's done. They're not diametrically opposed. I think, again, you could pull a few words out of context, but what she said on this campaign trail was she will be tough on Wall Street, and that's exactly what she'll do.
All right, we've got a little bit of time remaining. You've been very patient. Your reaction to the Trump tape?
Well, my reaction is it's disgusting. And I think people saw in real life what we've been saying for a long time. What Hillary said as far back as June is that he's unfit to be president of the United States. Okay. You see Republicans leaving him in droves. There are now 46 senior Republicans who said that he should either withdraw or they won't vote for him since Friday. So I think he'll have some explaining himself to do tonight. But, this isn't an exception. He's said the same horrible things about Latinos, about African Americans, about Muslims. He's made fun of a reporter with disabilities. You know, this is who this guy is. And I think that the American people can just heard and saw it for themselves in some graphic detail, which, you know, I hope every voter actually takes the time to see what is really on that tape, and I hope all of their children don't get to see what's on that tape.
John Podesta, John, thank you. Thanks for joining us today, and of course, we'll all be watching what happens in tonight's debate. Up next...
Okay, I should have expected that. I wasn't paying attention. Okay. Dishes. Gotta do your dishes, people.
Hello, freak bitches.
Actually,
There's a quote from Ray Kurzweil, which is...
Let's not do that.
Things are...
We all know about Hillary's mounting legal troubles that she's brought up to herself with her willful and deliberate criminal misconduct. Hillary Clinton is not the victim, by the way. She's not the victim. You, the American people, are the victims of this corrupt system in every way. And this is your last chance to change it. I really believe this. This is your last election where you're going to have a chance. I think when you read WikiLeaks, when you see that Podesta, I'll tell you what, I would fire him so fast. He speaks so badly about her. She's got bad instincts. I won't even say it. He says things about her that I won't say about her. Do you believe it? I would fire John Podesta so fast, whoever he is. I don't think I ever met the guy. But he says such bad things about her, and others say such bad things. It's amazing what you learn from looking. And for years I've heard the nastiest quote. It was a quote that if you can't control your own house, you have no right essentially to be in the White House, right? And I said, what a nasty quote. I would never say that quote. I would be so badly criticized for that. And then I found out 3 days ago, Michelle Obama was the one that said it about Hillary when they ran against Hillary. And then, you saw this with Biden. You know, tough guy. He's a tough guy. He's so tough that he's doing a great job in defeating ISIS, isn't he? He's doing a great job in negotiating the Iran deal, right? They laugh at us. But he called me to the back of the gym. I dream about that. I dream of that. But you know what I do? Like this. Watch.
Meet me in the gym, bro. Meet me in the gym.
And he's down. He's down.
One of the big surprises of the presidential campaign was the explosion of fake news on the internet. Fantastic tales that some believe to be true. Chip Reed reports that one phony item led to a dangerous situation in Washington.
28-year-old Edgar Welch was arrested in Washington Sunday afternoon outside Comet Ping Pong, a popular family pizza parlor. D.C. police say Welch fired at least one round into the restaurant floor with an AR-15 rifle like this one on his Facebook page. No one was injured. Police say Welch drove all the way from North Carolina to self-investigate Pizzagate, a fictitious online conspiracy theory. Pizzagate started on the internet shortly before Election Day, when right-wing sites that make up fake news spread rumors that Hillary Clinton was involved in a child sex trafficking ring in D.C. Court documents say Welch read online that the Comet restaurant was harboring child sex slaves, and he was armed to help rescue them. He surrendered peacefully when he found no evidence that underage children were being harbored in the restaurant. Pizzagate has been pushed by Michael G. Flynn, son of retired Lieutenant General Michael T. Flynn, chosen by President-elect Trump to be his national security advisor. The two were seen together at Trump Tower last month. After Welch's arrest Sunday, the younger Flynn tweeted, "Until Pizzagate proven to be false, it'll remain a story." General Flynn himself has also spread stories claiming to link Mrs. Clinton to criminal activity. 6 days before the election, Flynn tweeted, "You decide. NYPD blows whistle on new Hillary emails, money laundering, sex crimes with children, etc. Must read." The story he referred to was fake.
I respect your idea of protest and stay all day.
This is not the first time Pizzagate believers have confronted Comet Ping Pong owner James Alefantis. He says he's been getting threats for weeks.
These stories are completely and entirely false. What happened today demonstrates that promoting false and reckless conspiracy theories do come with consequences.
This was a terrifying experience for my children.
Sharif Simley was at Comet Ping Pong with his wife and 3 children when Welch walked in.
This is nothing but, terrorism, and it should be condemned as such.
In addition to the AR-15, Welch was carrying a handgun, and a shotgun was found in his car. Scott, he's been charged with multiple.
3 decades. As one of D.C.'s most powerful lobbying firms, the Podesta Group may be on the verge of shutting its doors after being swept up in the Russia collusion investigation. So what exactly is going on behind closed doors? Here to weigh in is Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton, who always knows what's really going on. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Hi, Heather. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Well, as we begin with you, let's take a look at some Podesta Group fast facts for people. They were founded by the brothers John and Tony Podesta way back in 1988. Tony Podesta worked as a Democratic lobbyist and a fundraiser. John Podesta, of course, worked for the Obama and Clinton administrations. So why does it seem that any ties with Democrats are kind of looked past in terms of the mainstream media, but if you're tied to Republicans, then you got some big problems?
Well, it's remarkable because Paul Manafort was in partnership with the Podesta Group on the very issue for which he's being charged by the Mueller people. So Mueller is prosecuting Manafort for improperly lobbying or improperly disclosing lobbying. But the Podesta Group isn't being charged when you can make the same argument. Now, Tony Podesta, who's still running the group, or was, says he's innocent. He filed all the forms properly and there's nothing to yell at him about. Well, so does Paul Manafort. But the difference is that Mueller is focusing on Paul Manafort, who happens to be the former campaign chair for Donald Trump. But Tony Podesta, whose brother John, by the way, was Hillary Clinton's, one of her top campaign officials, who, as a campaign official, presumably would have had some knowledge about the dossier. We know he met, according to one report, with the author of the dossier after it was published. So, of course, Mueller isn't going to go after John Podesta because John Podesta and the Clinton campaign were working hand in glove, it looks like, through this dossier with the FBI to target Team Trump. It just screams disparate impact or disparate treatment between Mueller and between Manafort and Podesta, or basically Trump, the Trump gang, the Trump team, and the Clinton team.
Yeah, I was looking back through some of my old notes over the years, specifically with you, and we had talked about. I was looking at.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. There were so many places that you could have gone. And you have discriminating taste. I know you. But you chose to come here come forward. This is a loving room. Chairs, for this moment, they're not safe. They're not safe. They're unstable. They crash through floors. And Satan is below us. You don't want to go there yet. We can experience the joy of Satan here in this room without meeting him. I will love you if you step forward. It's safe. It's safe. Come forward. You'll have fun. This type of music, it's kind of dancey, and you are encouraged to breathe hard, heavily, to move a little. No arthritis here. I hope you've been taking your cartilage supplements. I have a special mixture. If you haven't, I can give it to you now. It looks like cocaine, but it's baby powder. Just don't take it like a laxative. That would be so confusing. I don't advocate drug use for those of you who don't know me, but I will talk about them a lot. Because it's funny, drugs. I know you guys think that PCP is back, right? The word on the street in DC these days, vote is back. That's what I've been hearing. Vote, PCP, the shit that makes you flip cars and run down the street naked, right? I mean, it was big in the 80s, and it's like 30 years, it's back. But I'm going to dispute that. The block that you're standing on, this used to be Crap Town. And tonight, the theme, crack is back. Crack is back. The theme is going to come through in a few new songs that we... Years, thousands of years. Ding dong. Now, ding dong. Hello. Oh, I love your coat. That's very pretty. Oh, thank you. That's pretty. Oh, this is like a warm kitty. It's sadly like my kitty that long died. Can I just rub my face on it just a little? Oh, thank you. Oh, it's hard to leave love. But everything good passes. Thank you for allowing me to touch your coat. Shh.
Not just you.
We're going to have a special gathering. Oh, and we have video. There's a lion. Welcome. Welcome, friendly people, to Comet Pizza and Ping Pong. It's a wonderful day. The special day in January.
Nothing weird going on there, folks.
Of the birth of our Lord. Sasha, Lord. Sasha, you're here. And we've all come together to celebrate the birth of our Lord. It wasn't Christmas. No, it's today. If you are like me, you love Sasha. Or if you don't, you want perks from her. Things like free pizza, or booze, or chapstick. Do you have chapstick? I've never asked. You've given me yoga shirts, and that's great. And then a return of soaking wet. They just leave them on the floor like a real bitch. I'm sorry. I never said sorry about that. This is ad-lib. I'm sorry again. I had a plan, but I just remember the horrible things I've done. Well, have any of you enjoyed this special pizza here tonight called the Hottie? Or are you familiar with the Hottie if you didn't eat it? If you know the Hottie, you don't have to do anything grandiose. Just give me a little thumbs up if you know this Hottie. Just raise your hand a little. Okay. And if you haven't had it, you should try it. It's delicious. Well, I unfortunately discovered a very unpleasant secret tonight. I wanted to know what the special secret ingredient was because it tastes like nothing I've ever had before. And I snuck back into the kitchen. Nobody noticed me. Do you know what that secret ingredient is? It's fucking ketchup. Dude, it's not even hippie ketchup. It's shitty ketchup in packets. And you know where they get it? The goddamn Arby's on Rhode Island Avenue. Shit's nasty! Ketchup? No, that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty normal for San Francisco.
Sasha, I wanted to think about a few things that you brought to my life and brought to all the lives of the people here.
Still creepy as shit.
And the first thing you might not know about Sasha is she's Russian. She's from Russia. Can you say Russia? So hard not to laugh. I'm serious, she's really a Russian. Well, this is going back generations of her being Russian. So, her great-grandfather, Misha, was Russian too. And you might not know this. Sasha has brought all of you together tonight. Misha ended the Cold War. He didn't do it by a forced means. There was no hippie circle or ring around the rosy, US is happy, Russia loves you. No, he invented something. Something that we all can relate to. Misha Lord, Sasha Lord's great-grandfather invented something called Russian dressing. You put it on a salad. What, salad's too good for you? Fuckers. Suck it. Shit. Salad dressing. Ended the Cold War. There's another something that Sasha has done for me. This is me personally. 6 years ago, before Facebook, I figured I was infertile. Barren. So I asked Sasha to carry my baby. And you know what? She did it. At first, I was alarmed. I was a little worried. I was like, okay, she's Russian. She might sell it for vodka and soft toilet paper. But no, she didn't. She held on to that child all the way to the end. And the fucked up thing was really, it was after it was born. I had to put that shit down.
Well, what?
Euthanasia. You want to know why? It came out really tiny. It didn't have any hair. And it had this rope thing coming out of its stomach. It's fucking cord. I was like, is this what happens with Russian babies? And it, it kept saying, and I was like, all this noise. Oh, this is Russian reunion.
It's a reunion. Yeah. No.
Yes. And you're a Superman.
I am.
Oh, I love superheroes. Is your cape in the trunk of your car?
Oh, come on.
What's wrong with capes?
I didn't have it.
Okay, tomorrow. If you need to borrow one, I have a few extra. I don't know you, but you seem pleasant. That's good. Really pleasant. Well, okay, let's talk about just a few more wonderful things about Sasha, and then we're going to get on with some music. Sasha also does community service. How many of you guys are sensitive? Like you get offended easily? I think it's too late. I'm just gonna have to roll with this one. Any of you guys know someone by the name of Stuart Lupton? I mean, this might only be for her. Okay, so she does community service. If Stuart shows up at your house and starts reading you poetry, it means he's gonna steal your shit. If you call 1-800-SASHA SAVES, she'll drive up to your house, she'll throw the fucker in the trunk of her car and drop him back on the mean streets of Chevy Chase. She's good. Committed to the end. Well, tonight, she booked some K-holes. You guys stoked for the K-holes? I am. I'm ready to soundtrack. And the weird thing is, though, when I went backstage to see the K-holes, all I saw were tranny gypsies and some mongoloid manhandlers. No, that was just me. My family, everybody's family. Oh, this feels so good. You just keep touching yourself. Sasha, you brought so much to all of our lives, and I honestly think this is the truth. You might have been the first person I started being nice to. I don't know why. You're just that awesome. And I want to finish up by just saying thank God that Thievery Corporation isn't playing this week. Because that shit's weak. But it could, because Hilton was busy tonight. He's opening an authentic Panda Express down on U Street. No, it's authentic. He got some indigenous Amazonians to come in to play a dubbed out pan flute. No, yeah, it's like me and then it's it. That's how it works. Okay. How many of you guys, this is it, this is the last part. But what do you hate more than anything when a band says to you, oh, we have 2 more songs, thanks for coming out tonight. Do you hate that? I do. I've played like 600 shows, I've probably seen 2,000, and nothing bums me out more. I'm not violent, but that makes me want to punch you in the throat. Stop. Don't do that. Don't do that. And if they looked better, I don't know, just dressed up. You guys know the song The Gambler? On a warm sunny evening, on a train over nowhere. Oh shit, are you single? No, your hair is really short. I'm just kidding, no. I meant a lot to me. Alright. We're just gonna go for the end, the theme, the chorus. You guys know it? Just give me the rhythm. You got to know when to hold on. Know when to fold on. Know when to walk away. Know when to run. You better count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting. When the deal is done, Sasha, lesson to you. Never count your money at the table, girl. You take that bad money and you run. Where are you? Happy birthday, Sasha. Happy birthday, Sasha Lord. Happy birthday. You're awesome. I love you. I love you. She's awesome. Okay, up next, we have Ian. Ian. Praise be, praise trees. You can't use this. Sorry.
Alright, it's time for another math.
Yeah, I'll go for that later. It's too long.
Let's imagine that they are saying, okay, the problem here is that WikiLeaks published information. What are they saying? WikiLeaks published true information that the American public read. That information was the words of Hillary Clinton and her campaign manager, John Podesta, and other people in her campaign. And the American public read that information, true information, and said, we don't like these people, and then voted accordingly. But that's not sustainable. So what they want to do instead is conflate our publication of true information with, say, hacking, or rather alleged hacking, of US vote counting machines. And even Obama has had to admit that there has been no hacking of US vote counting machines.
Hindsight, should the Obama administration have done more once it was learned that the Russians were up to no good in interfering in our politics, either before the election or during the transition? Should the if the Obama administration had a mulligan, should it have done more?
Well, the answer to that question is I'm not sure. I think we made the right choice. Let me explain what I mean. This was a moving target. What we were originally told at, I guess, around August, September, we knew they were up to engaging in trying to delegitimize our electoral process. But the hard data we had was not very detailed, and it did not. And then we had the next point. We went to the. This is the only engagement with the House and Senate that I wasn't asked to lead, because anyway, I always was being sent to the Hill to try to settle things. But the Gang of 12 were called together, and we laid out to them, and the intelligence community laid out to them exactly what we saw was happening. We didn't know the extent of it then either. And we asked so that we wouldn't be in the position. The president and I would sit there literally after the PDB, and everybody walk out of the room and say, what the hell are we going to do? Now, Mr. President, if you go out and you unilaterally say this is what's happening, you're going to be accused of, in this environment, of trying to tip the election. And unless you can give harder data than we have now, you're going to be in a terrible position, and it's going to play into the delegitimizing of our electoral process, which was initially what the intelligence community, correct me if I'm wrong here, the intelligence community thought was what this was all about. And then as we got further, and so we went up, and Mitch McConnell, who I get on with well and is a smart guy, Mitch McConnell wanted no part of having a bipartisan commitment that we would say, essentially, Russia's doing this, stop. Bipartisan. So it couldn't be used as a weapon against the Democratic nominee of a president trying to use the intelligence community, which, now at the time, people would say no, when we were internally having these discussions, say no one would do that. Well, look what the hell they've done. The constant attack is on the intelligence community. It was a political organization run by, Barack Obama to take on his political enemies. Now, as a friend of mine in Scranton would say, who would have thunk it? But it was done. And so there was this constant tightrope is being walked here as to what would we do. So the second big play was we went in and said, okay, look, here's all the data. And Brennan and company came up and said, here's what we know. Why don't we put out a bipartisan warning to Russia? Hands off, man, or there's going to be a problem. Democrat and Republicans, well, they would have no party. They have no part of it. That, to me, hanging around.
They wanted to extradite Julian Assange back to the United States. That's what they're talking about.
Doing it meant to me that this was the die had been cast here. This was all about the political play. And so the moment the president at that time would come out and say, by the way, the Russians are doing this and hacking the DNC and so on, would have been turned into the president's trying to make this play. Then we learned more, and we learned more immediately after the election was over. But we did have a conclusion. I'll stop. There was a consensus in the intelligence community that when the president gave a face-to-face warning to Putin overseas at the conference, that we saw no evidence, which really worried me in particular, but I think everybody, of actually going into the voting rolls, going into the voting itself. impacting on using cyber to go into and strip the roles of Democrats and Republicans. We had no evidence of that, and it seemed when that demarche was made that there was no more, it didn't move any further. But I'm sure I'm leaving stuff out. So the bottom line was it was tricky as hell. It's easy now to say, well, maybe we should have said more. But I ask you a rhetorical question. Can you imagine if the President of the United States called a press conference and in October with this fellow and Bannon and company and said, tell you what, the Russians are trying to interfere in our elections and we have to do something about it. What do you think would have happened? I'm not a rhetorical. I mean, I have a view, but I genuinely mean it. Ask yourselves, what do you think would have happened? Would things have gotten better, or would it further look like we were attempting to delegitimize the electoral process because of our opponent? That was the constant battle. Had we known what we knew 3 weeks later, we may have done something more. But
I would just say one other thing in addition to that, which is that especially in the fall
AKA that
of
Trump
16,
won.
the focus in the administration was really on the cyber attack. We knew that they had
They figured Trump wouldn't win. They'd be able to cover this up and then go on.
And we were very focused, precisely as the Vice President said, on not allowing the Russians to be able to go in and physically change votes or flip people's, for example, addresses to suppress voter registration. That was the preoccupation. We're only learning now, in fact, the last 12 months, we've learned so much in terms of the propaganda campaign, the disinformation, the stuff on Twitter and Facebook. I think we both feel that that warrants an additional response, and that CATSA, the Countering America's Adversaries Act, provides the right authorities now to be able to amp up the costs even further.
That's really, I think, helpful in getting that on the record. Margaret Warner, I see you with the microphone.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Vice President.
Margaret, good to see you.
My question is, should we actually be going on offense in the information war, in the cyber?
Well, good afternoon.
And Russian authorities, what it means.
In private.
And I think it should be initially in private. And then, in fact, if it continues to occur, then pull the trigger. I mean, look at what the Republican-controlled Congress did. They overwhelmingly, you may very well, you're extremely well connected. I don't know of any system-wide analysis going on within this administration. So what the hell are we doing? Happening, you're going to be accused of, in this environment, of trying to tip the election.
Oh, there we go.
Hindsight, should the Obama administration...
No, that's not it. I had it. I lost it. And honestly, this has gone on long enough. I need a break. I need to go handle some errands. So, we will return and continue on with this compilation. But I hope you guys got to see some of the crazy crap that I find on YouTube. Have a good day, and take care of yourselves. And as always, stay frosty, for the liars are everywhere. The liars.